just found the funniest fake Minecraft speedrun because this speedrunner is absolutely terrible at hiding the fact that they're literally cheating. The speedrunner starts by creating their world and everything seems pretty normal. But once they load in, we can see that they're looking slightly down at the ground. And whenever you start a new world, you're always looking perfectly straight, which means that there's actually a good chance that the speedrun could be fake. Now in this first 5 seconds, I want you to watch the speedrunner very closely because something seems off.
Oh my god, I love speedrunning. It's like my favorite thing to do. It's like, oh I love speedrunning.
Did you see it? Well, as the speedrunner went inside of third person, we can see what appears to be a lucky block directly behind them, which is extremely weird because lucky blocks are not inside of normal Minecraft, as they can only be obtained with mods, which makes this part of the speedrun very suspicious. Well, the speedrunner makes their way deeper into the village where they find a chest that has leather boots. Listen to what they say.
Oh, boots? Are we serious? And toilet paper? Oh my goodness, I hate toilet paper. Ew, I'm gonna throw a toilet paper. No more toilet paper, I hate toilet paper.
The speedrunner now has leather boots, and it may not seem like it right now, but these leather boots are gonna play a very important part later in the speedrun. Well, the speedrunner begins mining a tree where they gather 4 logs and make themselves a crafting table and craft a wooden pickaxe and a wooden axe. The speedrunner then begins looking for the iron golem, but just watch what happens next.
Alright, Iron Golem, I'm gonna kill you. Thank you for not attacking me, Iron Golem. That's like super nice of you.
Yeah, the speedrunner killed the iron golem, but for some reason it didn't attack them, which is very confusing because iron golems always attack someone who hits them. So the fact that this iron golem for some reason didn't attack is very suspicious. Well, now that the speedrunner has 3 iron ingots, they suddenly remember that they have to do a victory dance. Yeah, just watch this for yourself.
Oh wait, I almost forgot to do my victory dance for killing the iron golem. Are you ready, guys? We killed the iron golem. We killed the iron golem. Yahoo, yahoo, yahoo.
I've never seen a speedrunner stop their speedrun to do a victory dance. And not only that, dancing is not even possible inside of Minecraft unless you have mods. So this likely means that the speedrunner is cheating. Well, the speedrunner explores more of the village where they suddenly find a lava pool. But once again, we can see something that is fake about the speedrun. And I'm just gonna let you watch this for yourself.
Oh my god, a lava pool! Yes! We needed that lava pool for like the longest times ever. Because I love lava pools, I can't even lie.
Did you see that? Well, the speedrunner suddenly gained the advancement Stone Age inside chat, but they weren't mining any stone. So how is this possible? Well, if we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, we can see the speedrunner suddenly gain a bunch of cobblestone inside of their inventory. But if we look down at the ground, there was no stone on the floor. So how did they do this? Well, if I'm being completely honest, I have no idea. So if you know how they did this, then please let me know. Well, the speedrunner arrives at the lava pool, but wait just a second. This is what a normal lava pool looks like. And as we can see, there is usually stone around it. But if we look at the speedrunner's lava pool, there is no stone to be seen, which means that the speedrunner likely dug out a hole in the ground and just filled it up with lava, which would be against the rules of speedrunning. Well, the speedrunner places down their crafting table and makes an iron bucket. They fill the bucket up with water and they then begin constructing the nether portal. And I'm not gonna lie, the speedrunner actually knows what they're doing because they construct the nether portal completely normally. But what's not normal is what they do next.
Alright, so basically that's how you build the nether portal. It's pretty easy, I can't even lie. Right, now that we finished the nether portal, we can just light it just like that. There we go.
Hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, the speedrunner opened up their inventory where they suddenly had a flint and steel. But if we rewind the footage 20 seconds ago, we can see that they had no flint and steel. So the fact that they now have a flint and steel is completely fake. Well, once the speedrunner loads into the nether, they use what they call a new speedrunner strategy. And this new speedrunner strategy is something I've never seen before. Well, just watch it for yourself.
Now I just have to try to find where a northern fortress would be. There is like a new speedrunner technique, if you go like this, and then you like smack the top, you can try to calculate where it's gonna be, and there should be one, oh, right over there. Oh my god, straight ahead.
Okay, there's no way that building this weird structure leads them directly to another fortress. This is just impossible. And if you think this new speedrunner strategy is insane, then you should see what the speedrunner does at the end, because it is absolutely insane.
So according to my calculations, it should be somewhere up here. Let me turn my render distance up. Oh, there it is, right there. Yeah, it's right there, it's right there. Oh my god, I can't believe I figured it out.
Well, the only way to get to the nether fortress is by bridging, so that's exactly what the speedrunner does. But they end up doing something that makes this speedrun completely fake. Well, just watch it for yourself.
So now I'm gonna have to build over there, I guess. I'm not really good at the bridging stuff. Oh no, oh no, oh no! Oh my god! I'm burning! I'm burning!
Well, hold on just a second. You see, I currently have 0 subscribers, and it's always been my dream to one day reach 1 subscriber. So if you could be my first subscriber, that would genuinely mean the world to me. The speedrunner fell into the lava and somehow has not lost a single heart. But how did they do this? Well, if we rewind the footage all the way back to whenever they were in the overworld and pause it here, we can see that the speedrunner had resistance, which makes the speedrunner completely invincible, which is obviously cheating. And not only that, if we zoom in right here, we can see that the speedrunner's leather boots are now enchanted, which somehow places obsidian everywhere they walk above the lava, which is something I've never seen before. Well, the speedrunner walks all the way over towards the nether fortress and begins building up. But wait just a second, did you see that? Well, if we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, we can see that as the speedrunner was building up, they ran out of blocks, but then suddenly gained another stack, which means that the speedrunner likely went inside of creative, but just cut it out of the speedrun. Well, now that the speedrunner has finally arrived at the top, they do something absolutely hilarious. Well, just watch it for yourself.
We made it! Yay! Yay! You know what that calls for? Another emote! Oh yeah? Oh yeah! We made it! To the fortress! Yeah, we made it! Yeah, to the fortress! To the fortress! To the fortress! Yahoo!
Okay, this speedrunner is absolutely insane. Well, now that they're at the nether fortress, they begin exploring where they suddenly find this golden netherrack block. And then they find another and another, which leads them directly to a blaze spawner, which makes me believe that the speedrunner placed these here inside the fortress before they began the speedrun, so that way they wouldn't get lost. Well, now that they're at the blaze spawner, I want you to just watch what they do next.
Oh my god, there's the blazy thing! Alright, can you please spawn blazes? That way I can kill them, please. Oh, thank you! Die, blaze, die! Oh my god, that was a hard fight, but I managed to kill the blaze. Oh my god, blazes! Die, blazes, die! Oh my goodness, these blazes are so hard to fight!
Just like the iron golem that didn't attack them earlier in the speedrun, the blazes are also not attacking them. But the only time that mobs don't attack you is whenever you're in peaceful mode. But the speedrunner is losing a bar of hunger, so they're clearly not in peaceful. So my only assumption is that the speedrunner is probably using a mod that makes it so that way mobs don't attack them inside of their speedrun, which once again would be against the rules of speedrunning. The speedrunner eventually grabs 5 blaze rods, and once they start killing the 6th one, we can see that they suddenly picked up a stack of ender pearls. Okay, this speedrunner isn't even trying to hide the fact that they're cheating anymore, because this is so obvious. Well, they eventually grab 6 blaze rods, and that's when they decide to turn their blaze rods into blaze powder to make themselves 12 eyes of ender. But hold on just a second. Do you see that? Well, right here, we can see what appears to be a nether portal. How does the speedrunner have a nether portal inside of their inventory? I think I must have missed an update. Well, now that the speedrunner has a nether portal inside of their inventory, they place it down and head back into the overworld. But just watch what happens next.
Oh my god, I'm in the stronghold, I'm in the stronghold! My nether portal led me here! Oh, I guess my nether portal glitched or something. I don't know where it went.
The speedrunner is now somehow inside of the stronghold, but there is no nether portal to be seen, which makes me believe that the speedrunner went inside their nether portal and flew all the way over to the stronghold, but just cut it out, which is very suspicious. Well, the speedrunner places in all of their eyes of ender, and once they're in the end, they build up and head towards the middle of the island. They then look into the eyes of an enderman, which for some reason the enderman just doesn't care, and then they wait for the ender dragon to perch, when suddenly out of nowhere the speedrun cuts and the ender dragon is nowhere to be seen. And listen to their reaction.
What the heck? Well, see you later, alligator.
Well, I guess the speedrunner beat the speedrun with a time of 13 minutes and 54 seconds. Yeah, so even cheating, the speedrunner still could not beat the world record for the fastest speedrun. That was genuinely embarrassing. If you enjoyed that speedrun, then I would highly recommend that you watch this speedrun, because trust me, it's just as cool. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see not one, but two ruined portals. And I'm sorry to say this right off the start, but this is completely fake, because ruined portals can only spawn within a 67 block radius of each other. And if you look at these two ruined portals, this is definitely less than 67 blocks. Okay, well, if we completely ignore the ruined portals, we can also see that there is a village right in front of them. So this has got to be a very good seed for a speedrun. Well, the speedrunner immediately starts off by looting the ruined portal chest, where they surprisingly find some pretty normal loot, like some golden nuggets, a golden apple, a golden axe, and even golden boots. All things that are actually possible for a ruined portal to spawn, so nothing seems too suspicious. The speedrunner loots absolutely everything out of the chest, but hold on a second, I just realized something. If we rewind the footage and pause it right here, we can see that the ruined portal is already finished. But don't get me wrong, that's not impossible. There is just a 0.00067% chance of that happening. So either the speedrunner is extremely lucky, or they might be cheating. But once they finish looting the ruined portal chest, they use their golden axe to collect wood from a tree. And after collecting 7 logs, they head into the village and begin collecting some hay bales for food later in the speedrun. But if I pause it right here, there was actually something about this frame that is completely fake. And in case you didn't see it, then here, I'll show you. If we zoom in right here, we can see what appears to be a flint and steel floating in the water. And if you know anything about Minecraft, you know that flint and steel doesn't just randomly float in water like this. Which means it's likely that the speedrunner went inside a creative and threw a flint and steel inside of the water before the speedrun even started, which would actually be completely against the rules of speedrunning. Well, the speedrunner continues mining all of the hay bales, and once they finish, they head directly over to the flint and steel and pick it up. The speedrunner is not sneaky at all. Well, the speedrunner then finds the iron golem, which they hit, and for some reason, it doesn't even attack them. And this is actually because whenever you build an iron golem yourself, it won't attack the person who created them, which is why the iron golem just sits there as the speedrunner kills it. And this alone would completely disqualify this as being a legit speedrun. But they continue attacking the iron golem until eventually it dies, giving them 5 iron ingots. And they even gain the advancement acquire hardware inside chat, which means that this is their first ever time collecting iron. And this made me think that the speedrun might actually be real after all. But that's what I thought at first, because what happens later in the speedrun is absolutely insane. Well, now that the speedrunner has 5 iron ingots, they turn their logs into planks. But wait just a second, did you see that? Well, if we rewind the footage and pause it right here, we can see what appears to be a creeper pig. Okay, this is very weird, because the creeper pig can only spawn inside of jungles. And well, if we look at where the speedrunner is, they are clearly not inside of a jungle. So a creeper pig being here is completely impossible. The speedrunner makes himself a crafting table and some sticks. They then place down the crafting table and make themselves an iron pickaxe, an iron sword, and a bunch of bread. They then head inside of a villager's house where they find a bed. And the speedrunner is likely going to collect this bed, because beds are something that every single professional speedrunner always uses. But whenever the speedrunner breaks the bed, we can see 2 beds drop. How the heck is this even possible? The speedrunner places down another bed, and oh my god, how are there so many beds? I am so confused. Well, now that the speedrunner has about 67 beds, they then break their crafting table and begin heading back towards towards the ruin portal that we saw at the start of the speedrun. And once they're at the ruin portal, they, wait, what the heck? Wait, what are you doing to that pig? Oh my god, what the heck? Okay. I am absolutely traumatized, but let's just move on. The speedrunner goes up to the ruin portal and holds a flint and steel. So they're likely gonna light the portal, right? Well, the speedrunner eats the flint and steel. Okay, what the heck is going on? The speedrun is absolutely cursed. Well, now the speedrunner doesn't have a flint and steel. So how are they gonna light the portal? Oh, okay, never mind, I guess. They take their new flint and steel, light the portal, and begin heading into the nether. But hold on just a second. You see, I currently have 0 subscribers, and it's always been my dream to one day reach 1 subscriber. So if you could be my first ever subscriber, then that would genuinely make my entire day. Okay, now back to the speedrun. And once there, everything seems pretty normal. They got the advancement we need to go deeper inside of chat, which means that this is their first ever time inside of the nether. So everything should be completely normal here. But of course, it's not. Because the speedrunner looks around for a little bit until they find an enderman. And as the speedrunner walks up to the enderman, we can see that the enderman is not moving. Even when the speedrunner hits the enderman, it still doesn't move. But when they kill it, tons of ender pearls drop everywhere. Okay, how are there that many ender pearls inside that enderman? That's a little bit weird. But now that the speedrunner has a bunch of ender pearls, they look around a little bit more until they find a blaze. This blaze is also not moving and drops tons of blaze rods. Yeah, this speedrun is absolutely insane. Well, now that the speedrunner has blaze rods and ender pearls, they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and make themselves 16 eyes of ender. And now that they have everything they need to go to the end, they make their way back towards their nether portal and head back into the overworld. And once there, the speedrunner throws their eye of ender. Wait, what? Why are they heading in the opposite direction? Okay, well, the speedrunner continues heading in this direction until they suddenly find a singular piece of bedrock. The bedrock can only spawn at Y level -67, and we are literally on the surface, so a bedrock being right here is physically impossible. The speedrunner walks up to the bedrock and begins eating the bedrock. There's no way the speedrunner can eat the bedrock, right? Oh, okay, I guess not. They just ate the bedrock. Well, now that the bedrock is inside of the speedrunner's stomach, they begin digging straight down with their iron pickaxe until eventually they find the stronghold. Okay, this is a very weird looking stronghold, but whatever, we don't care anymore. This speedrun is clearly fake. They place in the last eye of ender and jump right into the end. And just like whenever they were inside the nether, we can see that they gain the advancement the end, which means that this is their first time in the end. The speedrunner throws their ender pearl and lands on the main island. They head towards the middle of the island and then set up their bed cycle to kill the ender dragon. But then the speedrunner tries to eat an enderman, which makes it very angry. And now there's 2 endermen chasing the speedrunner. So the speedrunner runs away, but then the dragon throws a fireball, which instantly kills the speedrunner. Okay, so even cheating, the speedrunner still could not beat the ender dragon. That was genuinely embarrassing. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see a ruin portal and also a village, which is a very good start for a speedrun. Well, the speedrunner immediately heads towards the ruin portal, where they open the chest and find normal loot, like obsidian, gold, pants, and an axe. All loot that is possible for a ruin portal to spawn, so nothing seems too suspicious yet. The speedrunner begins taking the loot out of the chest, and we can see that they gain the advancement Ice Bucket Challenge, which means that this is their first time touching obsidian. So the obsidian that they found in the chest could actually be real. Also, I just realized that the speedrunner's name is Mr. Beast 67. What a very, unique name. Well, once the speedrunner finished looting the chest, they begin making their way towards the village. But hold on just a second. There was actually something that is already fake about this speedrun. Well, if we rewind the footage and then pause it right here, we can see that the golden axe had infinite durability, which is not a real enchantment inside of Minecraft. So something very sus is going on here. Well, once the speedrunner arrives at the village, they start entering villagers' houses and breaking their beds, which is actually something that pro speedrunners do all the time. They then begin breaking hay bales for food later in the speedrun. They then begin looking for the iron golem, but wait just a second. If we zoom in on the sheep, something is not right, because this is what a normal sheep looks like. And this sheep is, well, fat. And fat sheep are not inside of normal Minecraft. Well, the speedrunner completely ignores the sheep and eventually finds the iron golem. So they smack the iron golem, build 3 blocks up, and begin killing it. And once it dies, they get 3 iron ingots. And I'm not gonna lie, mostly everything has seemed pretty normal. But what happens at the end of the speedrun is absolutely insane. Well, now that the speedrunner has basically everything they need to go to the nether, they begin making their way back towards the ruin portal. But wait just a second. You see, this entire time, the speedrunner speedrunner has had their microphone unmuted, and they're actually about to say something that makes the speedrun completely fake. And, well, I'll just let you listen to it for yourself.
Okay, so I need wood. I think this tree gives me obsidian, right? Oh yeah, there we go, yep. Alright, that's enough.
Yeah, the speedrunner walked up to this tree and then magically started getting obsidian. The speedrunner knew that this was going to happen because they literally said it out loud. The speedrunner is terrible at cheating. They use the wood to make a crafting table, and they make themselves a bucket and some bread. They then break the crafting table and arrive at the ruin portal to start making themselves a brand new portal. But the speedrunner starts constructing the portal in a very weird way, because once they're finished, we can see that this is clearly not a normal nether portal. So there's no way that they're gonna be able to light it, right? Well, the speedrunner opens up their inventory and realizes that they don't have a flint and steel. So they open up the ruin portal chest, and what the heck? How is there a flint and steel here? Because if we rewind the footage back to the start of the speedrun, we can see that there was no flint and steel inside of it at the beginning. So how the heck did they get a flint and steel inside of this chest? Well, I have no idea. But since they now have a flint and steel, they can go to the nether. But then the speedrunner somehow lights the portal. What the heck? I have no idea how the speedrunner somehow lit the portal when this is not a normal portal. I am so confused. Well, now the speedrunner has a portal, so they can go into the nether. But instead, the speedrunner decides to go back inside of the village. When out of nowhere, they somehow pick up a villager. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this speedrun is definitely cursed. Well, now that the speedrunner has taken this villager without its consent, they then begin heading into the portal. But hold on just a second. You see, I currently have 0 subscribers, and it's always been my dream to one day reach 1 subscriber. So if you could do me a huge favor and be my first ever subscriber, that would genuinely make my entire day. Okay, now back to the speedrun. The speedrunner loads into the nether, and we can immediately see that they gained the advancement we need to go deeper, which means that this is their first ever time inside of the nether. And not only that, we can also see a fortress directly in front of them, which means they must have gotten a pretty good spawn. Well, the speedrunner looks around for a little bit, and wait just a second. Do you see that? Well, if we zoom in right here, we can see what appears to be a, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what the heck this is. But this is definitely not inside of normal Minecraft. But regardless, the speedrunner completely ignores whatever the heck this is and heads into the fortress, where they place on their crafting table and make themselves a golden pickaxe. And as they head deeper into the fortress, we can see that there's also a bastion inside of the fortress. But this is very weird, because the bastion and the fortress are physically incapable of spawning inside of each other, which means that the speedrunner likely typed in a command to allow these two structures to spawn inside of each other, which, in case you were wondering, would be completely against the rules of speedrunning. But the speedrunner heads into the bastion, and we can immediately see a bunch of piglins that are already inside of a hole. And something tells me that the speedrunner made this hole themselves, because inside of a normal bastion, this hole is never here. Well, the speedrunner finds some chests, and all the loot seems pretty normal. They then begin dropping gold into the hole to try to get some more piglins to trade with. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the speedrunner starts digging into the wall where they find golden blocks. But these golden blocks never spawn behind this wall. As a matter of fact, I found this same exact bastion inside my own world, and this is what it usually looks like. So I can 100% confirm that the speedrunner placed down these golden blocks there themselves, which would completely disqualify the speedrun as being legit. Well, the speedrunner places down their crafting table and makes himself an iron pickaxe, that way they can now mine the gold. And that's when we find out that there was actually 10 golden blocks behind this wall, which makes this part of the speedrun even more fake. They turn all their golden blocks into golden ingots and then drop the piglins more gold. They then dig into the hole to pick up their trades. But when they open up their inventory, we can see that they have no ender pearls, which means that the speedrunner got pretty unlucky. But watch this next part very carefully, because the speedrunner closes their inventory, builds 1 block up, and then opens their inventory, and we can see 16 ender pearls. But if we look back 2 seconds ago, we can see that they had no ender pearls. So how the heck did they get 16? Well, if I'm being completely honest, I believe that the speedrunner went inside of creative and gave themselves these ender pearls, but just got it out of the run. And I'm not gonna lie, they almost got away with it. Well, now that the speedrunner has all of the ender pearls they need, they now just need blaze rods. So they run to the other side of the fortress, where they instantly find a blaze spawner, almost like they knew it was here. But of course, I don't know this for sure. The speedrunner arrives at the blazes, but I'm gonna pause it right here. Because if we look inside chat, we can see that they gained the advancement into fire. But you can only gain this advancement if you pick up a blaze rod. And what do you know? Inside their hotbar is a blaze rod. But if we rewind the footage just a little bit, we can see that they had nothing in that hotbar slot. And within 2 seconds, they magically gained a blaze rod. But there was no blaze rod on the floor. So how the heck did they do this? Well, if we continue watching the run, we can see tons of blaze rods just falling all over the floor. And this is likely due to a command block that the speedrunner must have underneath the fortress. And well, since they can have an infinite amount of blaze rods, they just end up picking up all the blaze rods and then making their way back towards their portal. Once they're in the overworld, they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and then make themselves 13 eyes of ender. They then throw their eye of ender and then begin heading in that direction. But as the speedrunner starts heading in this direction, they decide to do something very, very strange. Well, I'll just let you watch this part for yourself.
This speedrun's kind of boring. I'm gonna start playing some music, I guess.
Yeah, the speedrunner starts playing Mr. Beast music. What the heck is going on? Well, as they're listening to some music, they then randomly start digging straight down, where they find a massive cave. And inside this cave is the stronghold. Well, hold on a second. This part is clearly fake, because the stronghold can only spawn 67,000 blocks away from your spawn. And if I'm being completely honest, this is definitely not 67,000 blocks away, which means that this stronghold is definitely fake. Well, inside the stronghold, they find a red torch, and then they find another, and another, and they continue following these red torches, which brings them directly to the portal room. And now that they're here, they place in all of their eyes of ender, and they're now in the end. And all throughout this entire speedrun, the speedrunner has been cheating non-stop. So I'm hoping that the speedrunner will at least fight the ender dragon without cheating, to at least make this speedrun a little better. But then the speedrunner arrives at the island, where we can suddenly see a red sword. And once they pick it up, we can see that it's called the God Sword. What the heck? Well, now that the speedrunner has the God Sword, they begin chasing down the Ender Dragon, where they suddenly click the floor and tons of TNT starts falling down onto the dragon. And they do this more and more until the dragon eventually perches and they one-hit the Ender Dragon, beating the game and entering the portal with a time of 14 minutes and 39 seconds. All that cheating and they still could not beat the world record. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see a village. But that's not all. We can also see a shipwreck on the side of the screen. And these two structures being this close to each other means that the speedrunner got insanely lucky. But already we can see something that is actually fake about this speedrun. And no, it's not the village, and it's also not the shipwreck either. But instead, it's actually this piece of redstone right here. Because redstone dust can actually only be found inside of jungle temples. And this is clearly not a jungle temple, which means the speedrunner probably placed this down themselves, which I think we're gonna see why they placed this down very soon into the speedrun. Well, the speedrunner immediately makes their way over towards the village, and once they arrive at the village, once again, we can see something that is fake. And in case you haven't noticed it, then here, I'll show you. Right in front of them is a villager's house, and if you look closely at the door, it's already open. But the thing is, whenever villagers open doors, they always close them behind them, which means this door should not be open. Well, the speedrunner enters the house and listen closely to what they say.
Let's see. Ooh, nice chest. Alright. Oh, okay. We got some bread, some emeralds, and some apples. I love all of this loot.
The speedrunner got some pretty average loot, like emeralds, potatoes, bread, and apples. All things that normally spawn inside of this village chest. But hang on just a second. If we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, whenever they hover their mouse above the apple, we can see that it says redstone apple, which is very weird because redstone apples are not in normal Minecraft. So I'm very confused how they were somehow able to craft a redstone apple. Well, now that the speedrunner has some loot, they begin breaking the house for some wood. But just listen to what they say.
Now I need some wood. Give me that wood. Yeah, give me that wood. Yeah. Give me that wood.
Yeah, this speedrunner might be a little bit of a weirdo, but once they gathered 3 logs, they used the wood to make a crafting table and some sticks. They then used the crafting table to make a wooden axe.
A wooden axe. I love axes. Axes more like taxes. Am I right, guys? I love taxes.
Axes more like taxes? Is this speedrunner serious? Okay, well, now that the speedrunner has a wooden axe, they use it to actually kill the iron golem. But once again, I just want you to listen to the speedrunner.
Excuse me, iron golem. Hold that real quick. That little silly iron golem. You so silly, iron golem. Oh, did he give up? Are you okay, iron golem? Oh, okay, he's coming. All right, we'll just go right there. All right, come on, iron golem. Oh my god, this guy's a slowpoke. Are you serious? Boom. 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 Boom.
Well, after hitting the iron golem 13 times, yes, I actually did count, they gained 3 iron. The speedrunner, of course, uses that iron to make themselves an iron pickaxe, but they also decide to craft something else. And if I'm being completely honest, this next part is absolutely crazy. Well, just watch it for yourself.
Alright, what else should I make with what I have? I need a better weapon. I'll just make like an emerald sword. It's pretty good loot, I would say so myself.
Are we serious? An emerald sword? I've never seen a speedrunner make an emerald sword before. So how is this possible? Well, if I'm being completely honest, much like the redstone apples, I believe that the speedrunner might be using a mod, because redstone apples are not in Minecraft, nor is an emerald sword. So I'm pretty sure something fishy is going on here. Well, now that the speedrunner has some questionable items, they break the crafting table and begin making their way towards the shipwreck that we saw earlier in the speedrun. But wait just a second. You see, I'm trying to reach 200,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean a lot to me. Something about this frame right here is actually fake. And if I'm being completely honest, it's very, very obvious. So I'm sure that you saw it. But in case you didn't, if we zoom in right here, we can actually see what appears to be a green piece of wool, which at first is very confusing because why would they randomly place a piece of wool right here? But you'll see why they did this very, very soon. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the water and swims over towards the shipwreck. And now that the speedrunner is at the shipwreck, just listen to what they say.
I hate when shipwrecks have like terrible loot. I'm gonna be completely honest here. Alright, let's see. Okay, a chest. Oh my goodness, no way. That's such good loot. Yes, let's go. Holy diamonds and iron and gold and iron.
The shipwreck had very good loot, and we can even see that the speedrunner gained the advancement diamonds inside chat, which means that the speedrunner probably found this completely normally, which means that this loot could actually be legit. Well, now that the speedrunner has some pretty good loot, they swim back over towards land, where they once again place down their crafting table and make themselves an iron helmet, a diamond axe, and 1 golden ingot. But wait, this next part is extremely suspicious, so I'm gonna let you just watch it for yourself.
Alright, I am gonna need just a few blocks for my speedrun later, because obviously every speedrunner needs blocks and stuff. That's usually how it goes, you already know. Alright, there we go.
Did you see that? Well, the speedrunner mined the green wool that we saw earlier, but why did they randomly mine a green piece of wool? Well, right now, it's not gonna make any sense, but you'll see why they did this very, very soon. But once they mine the green piece of wool, they immediately find a ruined portal. And once they arrive at the ruined portal, watch very carefully for what happens.
Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness, there's crying obsidian everywhere. Okay, that's pretty good loot. I cannot lie, that is actually pretty good loot.
Did you see that? Well, once they open up the chest, we can see their entire inventory. And inside of it, we can see a flint and steel. But if we rewind 1 minute ago, we can see that the speedrunner never had a flint and steel. So where did they get this? Well, remember when they were mining the green piece of wool? I believe that underneath the green piece of wool was actually a flint and steel. That's why whenever the speedrunner broke the wool, they never looked down so that way we could see what they picked up. And if I'm being completely honest, they almost got away with it. But once they finish looting the ruined portal chest, just watch what they do next, because this next part is absolutely insane.
Wait, can I finish the portal with this? Let's see. Oh my god, that was enough obsidian to finish the portal. Oh, okay, good thing I got a flint and steel earlier. I can just light this now. Yep, there we go, perfect. We're headed into the nether, let's go.
Are we serious right now? The ruined portal had crying obsidian all over it, and you cannot light a nether portal if there's crying obsidian. So how did the speedrunner do this? Well, if I'm completely honest, I'm not too sure. But once the speedrunner enters the nether, they look around for a little bit until they realize that they actually got a terrible nether spawn. But that doesn't matter because what they do next is so obviously them cheating that it's genuinely hilarious. Well, just watch for yourself.
Alright, what is this spawn? This is a weird spawn. Hold on, let me eat my apple real quick. Yeah, this is very weird. Alright, I do need like a little bit of glowstone. Just a little bit like that.
We all saw that, right? Well, whenever the speedrun was mining glowstone, we can see them gain the advancement into fire inside the chat. And if we pause it right here, we can see a very obvious blaze rod entering their inventory. Not only that, the speedrunner also checks their inventory, and we can see a bunch of blaze rods and ender pearls inside of their inventory. And now that the speedrunner has all the items they need to enter the end, they begin heading back towards the overworld. But just watch this next part.
Alright, let's see. So, okay, I have some ender pearls and blaze rods. Get the blaze powder, boom. Let's go. Okay, so hopefully the end fortress place is not too far away. Oh, that's over in that direction. Are we serious? Okay. That's not terrible. And it broke. Oh my goodness, I'm so unlucky. Let's head in this direction. Hopefully we have like good stuff in this direction. I'm like hoping and praying. I have no idea where this portal could be at. Like, come on. Oh my god, no way. What is that? Is that the end portal? Oh my goodness. Oh wait, I'm pretty sure in the newest update they added these new portals that could just randomly spawn.
This end portal is so obviously fake, and I even looked inside of the newest update, and they said absolutely nothing about a new ender portal spawning above ground like this. So if I'm being completely honest, this part is so obviously fake. Well, the speedrunner enters the portal anyways, and they find a chicken. How the heck did a chicken get here? Well, the speedrunner kills the chicken and throws an ender pearl over towards the main island. And now for this next part, just watch how the speedrunner kills the ender dragon because it is absolutely hilarious.
Okay, the ender dragon is right there. What do I do? Please don't attack me. It's actually like a speedrunner strat that like not a lot of people use in their speedruns that I think I'm gonna use right here. Okay, so come here, ender dragon. Okay, ready, ender dragon? Ready? Ender dragon. And if I like crouch like 2 times, oh yeah, there we go. The ender dragon. Hey, yo, okay, whoa, enderman.
Did the ender dragon just disappear? Did I see that right? And not only that, this portal right here is completely fake. But the speedrunner enters the end portal and finishes the speedrun with a time of 7 minutes and 16 seconds. Wait, what the heck is this? Directed by Tim Johnson? Wait, what? Produced by Marielle Soria, PGA, Sunzane Barugi, PGA, Christopher Jenkins, PGA? These are not the normal Minecraft credits. What is going on? So I think we're just gonna end the speedrun there. If you like that video, I would highly recommend watching this video because this video is pretty cool too.